June 26 Rules Committee meeting to order. Mel Viner, would you give invocation, please?
Idag listan. Rådiga landet hej, Julie heliga han siv deskiat no kohi. Nimna desdostan heldig då häst a hand och gilostan han. Oswatli lohe jeledi ska du nolene he ske on he do häst no loch tan dasti häst he iski one he say. Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for all your blessings, Lord, that you brought us back together again. I just ask you to be with us, Lord, that to give us wisdom and knowledge for the betterment of Turkey Nation. Lord, just be with us. Let our decision be from the heart. And thank you for all the ones that are here today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Shelley, will you conduct roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Johnny Kidwell. Here. Sasha Black Fox Qualls. Here. Danny Callison. Here. Julia Coates.
Here.
Joe Deere. Mike Dobbins. Here. Kevin Easley.
Here.
Lisa Hall. Here. Daryl Legg. Kendra McGady. Here. Dora Petzkowski. Present. Cody Poindexter.
Honey.
Joshua Sam. Here. Melvina Shotpouch. E.O. Smith.
Here.
Condessa Teehee. We have a quorum.
You've had a chance to look over our May 29th regular session meeting minutes. Could I have a motion to approve? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right, from our reports, or from the Marshal Service, our interim marshal, Daniel Meade.
CO, good afternoon, Council. All right, first I'd like to apologize. It's good to see you guys. I missed you last month, but I was with, I went and helped with the first couple days of the rumor removal bike ride, and so I do miss that I missed you last month, but it was for a good reason. It was an absolutely amazing time. I think our bike riders also liked having someone from council or in cabinet, the executive branch and legislative branch there, because I don't know, I just bonded with those kids, and it was really cool to see. Actually, we had a 54-year-old there in the ride from Eastern Band, but to watch them go from separate and to welcome them back here, be just one team, was absolutely amazing. It was a trip of a lifetime. So, like I said, I apologize I missed last month, but it was for a very good reason. But you have my report. You have, if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions? Doc?
Mr. Marshall.
Yes, sir.
What is kind of a average staff level at our health clinics for security reasons? Do we depend upon the local law enforcement there to respond to some trouble? Or do we have Cherokee employees that serve on security there?
At the clinics, we have,
Yes.
the clinics have their own security. We do patrols as well, but during the working hours, they do have, they have their own security.
Are they armed?
Yes, most of them are. Most are armed. There is a mixture.
Okay.
Armed and unarmed.
Well, I know you're interim, but it was about 2 years ago, there was a disturbance out at Three Rivers in Muskogee, and at the time, our first option was to call the Marshal Service. Well, it would take almost 30 minutes to get there. So we worked out a MOU with Muskogee Police Department, and now when they have a disturbance, their first phone call is Muskogee Police Department.
Yes, sir.
Anyway. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Anyone else? All right, thanks, sir.
All right, thank you, Council.
All right, from the Office of the Attorney General, Chad Harsha.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the Council. Would like to start by providing an update on the Ballard and Iskey litigation that we have pending in the Northern District and the Eastern District. We've had a pretty significant development in that case since I last presented to this body. We've had ongoing conversations with the Department of Justice about this litigation, and if you recall, they're the ones who initiated these actions against these two district attorneys for essentially not complying with federal law related to non-member Indian jurisdiction. As part of those conversations, and again recently met with Department of Justice here in Tahlequah to have that conversation as the new folks are entering in the Trump administration. And one of the things that they've asked us to do is to enter into a temporary stay in that case for a period of 90 days so they can evaluate some of the underlying aspects of the litigation and also have open conversations with them directly, and presumably they'll have those conversations as well with the state elected defendants to talk about a pathway to either resolve the litigation or for them to better understand, as the new folks are coming in the new administration, some of the finer points of the litigation itself. We did not object to that. We were supportive of the effort to enter into the stay, which the court would have likely granted anyway. And so we're having ongoing conversations with the Department of Justice as we continue to provide them with some information and perspectives from the tribal side of that litigation. After a period of about 45 days, I expect some type of joint status report to be submitted. I don't yet know what the position of the State of Oklahoma defendants are. They did not object either, but it's still not exactly clear what the framework of the next steps are going to be as we continue to engage Department of Justice. There's also litigation that was recently settled, yesterday actually. The Muskogee Nation had a pending case against numerous of City of Tulsa officials. They were able to enter in a proposed settlement agreement that would establish a framework for the city and Muskogee Creek Nation. And we're not a party to that litigation and haven't been since it was filed a little over a year ago. But the incoming administration in the City of Tulsa, Mayor Nichols, has proposed a more cooperative and collaborative relationship with tribes. And we've had conversations outside of that litigation with the city's leadership on ways that we can collaborate better. So that is a very interesting development, and one that's certainly well received as we continue to engage our state and city partners on ways we can work together on our common goal of criminal justice in the Cherokee Nation Reservation. And with that, if any specific questions on those items or others, I'd be happy to take them.
Councilman Callison.
Yeah, Mr. Harsher, watching the news last night, I heard the AG for Tulsa County made a rather harsh statement about the agreement. Does he have to abide by what the mayor and the city council has to do, or will it go somewhere else?
So the harsh statements from the district attorney for Tulsa County is not something new. I mean, it's been a common theme throughout, post-McGirt rhetoric that's come out of that office. This is a litigation that was filed as between the Muskogee Nation and the city of Tulsa. The governor and his lawyers have tried to intervene and make statements and comments as in opposition to the settlement. But really it's a matter between the tribes and between the Muskogee Nation and the city of Tulsa. There's going to be a lot of strong feelings around whether that should have happened or shouldn't happen, or whether the path of cooperation is a good idea. But I think that it's really a matter between the Muskogee Nation and the city. There's still some unsettled aspects of that litigation, but all of this is a very positive development generally for resetting the tone for the city and its new leadership and tribes. Yes, sir.
Now, is that the deal in the jail between the Creek deputy and the jail? Is that a different deal?
That's a different deal. I do believe there's some ongoing conversations on their end on entering into an agreement or not with the jail for holding purposes, holding facilities.
And I'd just like to add that, we had a good, the Attorney General actually gave us some good feedback on casinos.
Sure.
Read about that. Did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, and this speaks to the ongoing matter with the UKB and their efforts to establish gaming operations within the Cherokee Nation Reservation. It appears that they attempted to sign on to the state model gaming compact and present it to the Department of Interior for approval. The issue that they ran into was that the model gaming compact expired for those folks who were not included in the auto renewal litigation that we had back in 2020. And so a formal request for an opinion was asked by Senator Avery Fricks, who covers part of the Cherokee Nation Reservation in his Senate district, as to whether that gaming compact, or that attempt to sign on to the gaming compact, was appropriate under state law. And he very articulately and clearly explained what the status of the law is in that area, and that gaming compact is not available to the United Cotuba Band as they have not signed on to it in the time frame required by statute. It's a great development and a very well-reasoned opinion by Attorney General Drummond.
Appreciate that. Councilman Deere.
On that deal that Muskogee Creek Nation did with the safety after Juneteenth, do we have something in place like that, or has Monroe reached out to talk about something like that?
I haven't had any conversations directly with Monroe, but I do know that we have open dialogue with him and his representatives of his office in the city on a number of different matters, so I can see what conversations have been had on that specific topic and get back with you if that's okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Anybody else? It's amazing how times have changed, and the things that we have to deal with and we have to worry about has changed from, not too long ago. I always say that Cherokee Nation is not the same Cherokee Nation we were 10 years ago. So I'm sure that we will step up and handle the problems that come up, and we certainly appreciate your diligence in representing us. Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate that. And if I could say, to the sentiment that you just shared, we get along with a lot of our state partners, especially at the local level, and we all share the same common goal on public safety. A lot of stuff gets buried into these media attacks and misrepresentations of what tribes' goals are, what Cherokee Nation's doing out in the communities, and we welcome cooperation with elected officials and regional leaders all the time, and happy to see that development out of the city of Tulsa. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, we thank you again, sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
report. All right, up next with FOIA GRA is Gwen Terrapin.
Good afternoon. It's good to see all of you today. My
afternoon.
apologies for my absence at last month's meeting. You should have a copy of my report, and the website's been updated, and I'll have any questions that you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Gwen? I see none. Good report. Thank you, ma'am. I do enjoy your reports every month. I do read them every month. I enjoy that. It's interesting. All right, from the Tax Commission, Sharon Swepston.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
You all do have my report. As you can see on there, motor vehicle through that month is a little over 9% increase compared to what it was last year at this time. And revenue, tobacco, and alcohol are down about 8% as to what they were this time last year as far as taxes goes. And I will try to answer any questions you might have.
Does anybody have any questions for Sharon? We still full up at J?
Yeah, so far.
All right. Good to hear. All right, good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up from the Gaming Commission, Audra Imhoff.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
A couple of items from my report. Our next commission meeting is tomorrow at Hard Rock, and I did want to thank Councilwoman Hall for attending last month and joining us. I was happy to see you. Our compliance department is continuing to work on their annual machine audits and should have those wrapped up in August. Our audit department is in the middle of a drop and count audit, and it is currently on track to be finished by the fiscal year deadline. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions for Audra? Condessa.
I may have missed it, but when is your next meeting?
Tomorrow at Hard Rock
Okay,
at
thank you.
9:30. The next one will be at West Siloam in July, July 25th or 27th, that last Friday of July.
Thank you. Thank you for the time, Chair.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, ma'am. Good report. And last up from Human Resources, Samantha Hendricks.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. You have my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Of course, I do have a couple of updates in reference to our internship program. We did have a cultural day on June 18th where we had pottery making, storytelling, and traditional games for our interns, just to show them that piece of our Cherokee Nation. And then on June 25th, which was just yesterday, we had Professional Development Day where we work with communications, environmental stewardship, safety, scholarships, team building, just to give them a well-rounded experience with the Cherokee Nation. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Does anybody have any questions for Samantha? I have one. I should have asked Marshal Mead, but I didn't think about it at the time. Does the Marshal Service have their own HR person?
Well, yes, they do. I mean, the way we've structured it within HR, every department has a representative to turn to for our HR business partners to help them through anything they need.
So is that the same as having one with the health? Do they do the same functions? Do they expedite, background checks and things like that so we can
Yes.
try to get people hired
Yes.
quicker?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good report. All right, under old business, Councilman Teehee, would you take that, please?
Yes, I am moving to table an act amending Title 21, Crimes and Punishments of the Cherokee Nation Code annotated until the August rules meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, under new business, number one. Councilman Easley, would you take that, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, at this time, I would make a motion to approve the revised version of Item 1, Cherokee Nation Claremore Outpatient and Emergency Health Center Act. Put that in the form of a motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Chief, would you come up and give us some words, please?
Mr. Speaker, Wadeau and OCO to the council, I believe that Brooke is passing out a rendering of the, at least an initial recommended rendering of the facility that's at issue in this legislation. Mr. Speaker, this is possibly the most consequential piece of legislation that I've worked with the council on in the 5+ years that I've held this office. A year ago, the council lended its support to the deputy chief and I to explore assuming operations at Claremore Indian Hospital. That triggered a process through which we were able to, for the first time, really get into Claremore and examine its operations, examine the physical plant, the facilities. We've spent more than 9 months undertaking that effort. What we've learned, as I shared publicly yesterday, was shocking in terms of not just the operations, which I think we all have a sense that if you compare the efficiency and effectiveness of a federal government IHS operation to the Cherokee Nation's operations, we perform better. The Cherokee Nation's health system is not perfect, but it's always striving to do better. And all of us in this chamber have our own experiences with that system, but we all have a frame of reference that dates back many years. And we've seen the progress, and people in this chamber have been responsible for a great deal of that progress. Of course, we're building on a lot of the work of our predecessors. So it wasn't particularly surprising to see that the operations were not on par with how the Cherokee Nation operates. I would share that, Mr. Speaker, and have if an IHS person was in front of us, and they would probably agree. In fact, in different ways, they have agreed that tribal systems generally are better because putting health care closer to Native peoples tends to work better. But we have proven that it works better. What really, though, has been shocking has been examining the state of the facilities at Claremore Indian Hospital, getting a close-up look that the public often does not see. And what we have found is that that is a facility that is woefully out of date and needs to be replaced. That facility, Mr. Speaker, as you know, was built in 1978. I was born in the old Claremore Indian Hospital, and by the time I was born, that hospital was nearing the end of its useful life. Here we are talking about the current facility, and we're at roughly the same time frame, roughly the same age, but the United States has not committed any plan to replace Claremore, and they have not maintained that facility. If you got to see what the Deputy Chief and I got to see, and more importantly, the experts on our team got to see, you would find walls that were paneled over or painted over that had water damage. You would see gaps in areas that let in untreated air into areas that should be sanitized, should have treated air for the sake of patients. I don't say that to cause alarm. I say that to tell you the truth and to express that there is, compared to a year ago, an urgency not just for the Cherokee Nation to assume operations of the Claremore Indian Hospital, But to assume operations and make immediate repairs to the current facility, and as this legislation also asks the council to support, to build a new facility. We can build a facility in approximately 2 years that will serve our patients well. Our patients, of course, include members of every federally recognized tribes, and there's more tribes than the Cherokee Nation, although we are the lion's share of the patient load. But we care about all the patients. And so for their sake, and for the sake of the staff that works there, we have to replace this facility, is my firm belief. This legislation allows us to do that. It allows us, again, to put millions of dollars that we have to into Claremore Indian Hospital immediately when we assume operations October the 1st, but it also allows us to very quickly begin the process of acquiring land, building a facility, the basic rendering of which you have in front of you. This, I think, will be a generational investment, Mr. Speaker. It's akin to the hospital that we're building that we'll see completed next year. It's akin to the Salina Clinic that we're replacing, tripling the capacity there. But I think it's of a different character because it's assuming control of health care from the government of the United States to the Cherokee Nation. And experience tells us that that is how you make progress in native health care within our reservation. And so we should expect to see the same. We do, though, have to look at operations, and I've been candid with the council and with the public, that when we started to examine operations, we had to look at everything. We had to determine what was feasible, what was sustainable. It's my belief that the United States left and is content to leave Claremore to wither on the vine. That is, to let services, let the facility wither on the vine. That's not how we approach health care. We won't approach health care that way. And that's not my experience with any member of this council. And so the United States had an operation in which its inpatient facilities saw less than 4 patients a day. Its outpatient facilities were much more productive. We can do things better. But the right thing to do, Mr. Speaker, members of the council, in this immediate term is to commit to building a new facility that will accommodate the outpatient needs of the area, that will keep an emergency room, that will significantly keep services, including prenatal care, and will compel us, I think, to look elsewhere for inpatient care, not to rebuild a hospital, but to absorb that less than 4 patient a day caseload into our system, or through partnerships that we're working on as we speak. I think those partnerships could be akin to the other partnerships we've developed in the Cherokee Nation. I mean, look what we've done with Oklahoma State University. 10 years ago, what were very small partnerships has turned into a medical school. You could say that with a lot of our healthcare endeavors, in that it started small with an idea and it blossomed into something that's really making a huge impact for the benefit of the Cherokee people and the other people who use our health system. I think that's the right way to go, and my beliefs are informed by the expertise that we have at the Cherokee Nation, most notably our health leadership, who've examined this very closely. And I have a great deal of faith in their recommendations, and I believe in them. So I think, Mr. Speaker, this $255 million investment is the right thing to do. There is substitute legislation, as you know, Mr. Speaker. It was always our intent that we build for the future, and that anywhere we would rebuild Claremore, we would make sure that there would be space and a design that would accommodate a hospital in the future. I mean, if you thought back, Mr. Speaker, 10, 20 years ago and asked somebody if we'd be building a $450 million hospital in Tahlequah, they might have said, we don't know that that'll ever happen. But as you go through time, as our system expands, we know that we have to meet the need. And fortunately, in Tahlequah, our campus was situated such, with land and with buildings, that we could build that hospital. Well, that's what we want to do in Claremore. Make sure that we're future-proofing as much as you can this new Claremore Health Campus. And so as you see in the renderings before you, there is space that we have set aside for a future hospital. That time is not now. It would not be responsible, in my estimation, Mr. Speaker, for us to commit to build a hospital now, given the patient load, given our ability to absorb the inpatient needs in our system or through partnerships. That's not an easy decision, but these decisions aren't easy. We could be content with leaving these decisions to the government of the United States. We could be content to leave this in the hands of the Indian Health Service. We wouldn't have to guess, Mr. Speaker, though, what that outcome would be. That outcome would be, in the case of Claremore, and this is probably the most galling thing of all, the United States, rather than invest in Claremore, rather than even plan for its replacement as it should have, has been content to grandfather Claremore on a facility basis into 1980 standards. The moment they turn over the keys to the Cherokee Nation, we'll be held to a higher standard. The most important standard we'll be held to is our own standard, which is excellence in healthcare that we try every day to reach. We're not content to shield ourselves with some bureaucracy that says that we'll judge the facility by 1980 standards. We're not going to do that, which is why we're also asking the council for part of these funds, up to $11 million, to go just to, on a triage basis, go in and try to make sure Claremore is safe for patients and staff. And I don't believe it's safe as we speak. But the lion's share of those dollars, Mr. Speaker, goes into this investment that I think is generational in nature. I think this is the right thing to do. I think our assumption of Claremore October the 1st is the right thing to do. One difficulty beyond the decision to not continue with the inpatient facility is the workforce. There were wild and, when it came from former elected officials, frankly, irresponsible comments that we were firing all the workers at Claremore. That's not true, but I take it personal only because I take the well-being of employees within our workforce or even IHS personal, because these are people who are committing themselves to providing health care for Native people. I think that's an honorable profession and really a calling. The result of our decision-making, though, has left us with 10 positions that we will eliminate. So the wild claims that we're firing everyone were designed to score some sort of political points. Those are easy claims to make, Mr. Speaker. It's easy to get on Facebook and make those claims and to then see how many likes or shares that you get. For the rest of us, which includes everyone in this room, this is serious. These are people's lives. These are jobs. This is the future of the Cherokee Nation. So I didn't have much time or really much inclination to indulge those wild rumors, except that it was scaring employees. And by extension, it was scaring patients. Those are the people that I care about in this context. I hope we've reassured them. I hope they understand that even 10 positions being eliminated is a difficult thing. But that if our primary goal here is to provide for the health and welfare for the Cherokee people, and by extension in health care, all Native peoples within our reservation, within the service area, then our goal has to be to continually improve health care. We can't do that if it remains in the hands of IHS. We can't do that if we're unwilling to make difficult decisions. And in my estimation, we can't do that if we're not prepared to make a significant investment in a capital project that I'm convinced, again, will make positive generational impact. I appreciate everyone on the council considering this. I appreciate the wise counsel. In fact, the reason that we have embedded in this legislation and in the design the future look at a hospital is because of the feedback of the council. Mr. Speaker, you and I were communicating just last week, along with the deputy chief, about how it's not enough to say we will plan to build a hospital someday. We really need to put thought into now what that could look like. And even more than that, the amended legislation or the substitute legislation, Mr. Speaker, requires two things of this office, whoever holds this office in the future. One is that we do what we've done, which is to make sure the plan is oriented, and as we acquire land, that it is sufficient to build a future hospital. The second thing it does is it requires the principal chief every other year to come back to this council and present a feasibility analysis of a hospital in Claremore, so that we're continually evaluating, testing ourselves as to whether that hospital should be built. I think on that basis, we can be assured that this council and the people that sit in your seats in the future and people who hold this office in the future will continue to give this issue the attention it deserves. I don't think we need necessarily legislation to do that, but I do think it gives the public the peace of mind they deserve, and I think it gives the workforce at Claremore the peace of mind they deserve. And I think it is the right thing to do to obligate this office to continually, in a formal way, come back to this council. But the issue at hand, Mr. Speaker, is whether to invest $255 million of the Cherokee people's money into a new facility at Claremore, one that has an emergency room, one that has an outpatient facility, one that has a wellness center, and one that meets the standards that the Cherokee people expect. That's not the standard of Indian Health Service. That's the standard of Cherokee Nation Health Services. I'd be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for our chief? Councilman Deere.
I just got two simple questions. On this site plan that Childress made, we are going to acquire for the location, correct? Acquire, when you said we're going to acquire land for this location? So that hadn't been determined as of yet?
We have, and I think people in this room can appreciate that we've made efforts to identify land.
Right.
It's a land transaction. Nothing's been closed,
Okay.
but we typically don't, discuss the details on streaming, but we'll be glad to get with you.
Well, I was just saying on the
offline.
site plan, usually it identifies it. But
Yeah.
the second thing, since we're getting ready to go into budget, obviously this is going to be reflected, all those positions, and that will help us identify the services that are there and what's not going to be there, correct?
It will, but I think more directly, we owe it to this council and we owe it to the patients and the staff to be specific about what services will be there without you having to dig in a budget book.
Yeah.
You can get it from the budget book, but rest assured, as we finalize our negotiations with the Indian Health Service, this council and the public will know what we're doing there.
Yeah, the reason why I said that, because, we used to do it in September, and October one's the day.
Right.
And now we don't get stuck into all these budget models trying to figure out what's what. So that's why I just want to see that reflection, even if they're pro forma type stuff.
Yeah, we'll do our level best to reflect that in the budget, but I think we don't want this council going into the new fiscal year unsure about what the services are.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, do we have any announcements? Next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, July 14th at 11 a.m. One more motion, please.
Motion adjourned.
Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. Good job.